Campbell in lane 5.
Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and today I'm going to connect with John Campbell to find out what makes him an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. Before we get started, remember, if you enjoy our content, please smash that subscribe button and support the channel. We really appreciate it. All right, let's get this thing started. John, why don't you kick us off with a little introduction of yourself?
Well, my name is John Campbell, and as you can probably tell, I'm not originally from the US. I was born in Scotland. My parents, at the age of just before I was 3 years old, they moved to New Zealand, and that's where this accent is from. And I've lived in New Zealand pretty much most of my life until 2016, so I'm not sure how old I was, but in my 50s, and moved here. I got married to a Michigander and have lived here ever since. And so I'm now representing USA as a track and field athlete.
Well, fantastic. We're happy to have you. Tell us just a little bit about your athletic history.
Okay, so originally I started playing soccer at a tender age of about 5 or 6. Played soccer, I was quite good at it. Yeah, I had a lot of speed, so that sort of shone through early on. So my speed helped me as a soccer player, scored a lot of goals. And then from there, I obviously went to school, high school, etc. And I ran a little bit of track and was on the relay team at high school, but never anything too serious. Then, as an adult, I got a dog, and he had a natural ability as a agility dog. So, going over jumps and through hoops and all that sort of thing. Did that with him. Of course, running around the course was always at speed. There's that speed thing again coming through. Had a great time with that. And then strangely enough, I was in a Nike store. I bought a pair of track spikes for the agility. And I thought, oh, these might be quite good. I used to sprint when I was a kid. Might just throw these on and see what I can do on the track. And the rest is history. So from about 2006 is when I started getting into it seriously.
So did you have any kind of inspirations along the way in your fitness journey?
Yes, my sister was basically my inspiration. She was the high school track star. She did the long jump, the high jump, the hurdles, the 400 meters, you name it, she did it, and she won everything. And I remember in her senior year at high school, she won the school cup. And I was just absolutely proud of her, and looked up to her as an athlete. And it's funny because the tables kind of turned around a little bit in later years. And now she looks up to me, and she sort of looks to me for inspiration and coaching advice. But she was basically my hero as I was growing up. We didn't have the Usain Bolts and those sort of big names. Well, we did, but not to the same extent as we do these days. But she was definitely my inspiration.
Well, how about some setbacks? Any injuries or anything along the way?
Yeah, well, when you start getting into masters athletics or track and field, there's always little injuries that come along here and there, and I was no stranger to those, of course. Managed to dodge most of them, and then I went to the World Championships in Brazil in 2013, and I was lucky enough to win the 200-meter World Championship, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I had some injuries, like what I thought was a hamstring injury. Ended up being a proximal hamstring tear on both sides. So that was quite devastating. I took basically 5 years out from track because I just couldn't run anymore. So I retired on a high, and I thought that was it. My track days are over, but I just wouldn't give it up. So ended up making a comeback.
So how did you solve that problem? Did you have surgery or something, or was it just the rest, or what happened?
A lot of rest, but I did have some what we call PRP injections, platelet rich plasma injections. I had some shockwave therapy. I had rest, I had massage, you name it, I threw everything at it. And actually, one thing that I do attribute to my comeback is completely unrelated, I went on the keto diet for several months. And as a side effect of that, my inflammation in my body as a whole was diminished. It was, there was no inflammation anymore. And then I found that I could also run and I wasn't feeling that pain. So I don't know whether there's something in there, but it just either was a coincidence or maybe that was the cure. But that got me back into running again.
So have you had any kind of relapses at all with that, or has it just been good to go the whole time now?
That's been good to go. I've had some other injuries, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Most recent was a hamstring injury, which I did last year and in my first race, and I was doing quite well with my rehab, excuse me, and thought I was ready to go and went back on the track way too soon, as we all do, and re-injured the same injury. So yeah, I was devastated. So I missed out on the whole of last season,
Yeah.
but of
Okay.
course made a comeback yet again.
Let's transition a little bit. I know you mentioned what you did in 2013, but run down a little bit of a list of your personal best accomplishments, maybe your personal best times, whatever you'd like to share with us.
Really leading up to the World Championships in 2012, I was competing in the New Zealand Championships, won all my races, 100 meters, 200, 60 meters as well. Then I decided to do the Oceania Championships, which is a combined Australia, New Zealand, and some of the Pacific Islands. Again won the 60, 100 meters, 200 meters, and that. So I thought, okay, what do I do from here? I went to Australia, took on the Australians. Thought, okay, there's a bigger pool of athletes. Again, won the 60 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters, walked away with the medals, much to their disgust. And then from there, I was like, well, what else do I do? So I thought, okay, well, maybe I'm okay for, giving it a go for the World Championships. Threw myself into the first World Championships. Was runner-up in the 100 meters and won the 200 meters in a personal best time, which still stands for me as a personal best, 23:64 at the age of 50. So that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Was ranked number one in that year as well. And then since then, it's been a sort of a steady climb back. I've been clawing my way back up the ranks, so to speak. And last year was quite successful. This year has been very successful. Obviously, when you go into a new age group, when you're 60, so I'm competing against guys who are, maybe 60, but up to 64. Yeah. And so I'm the young guy in the group, so to speak. It's a nice feeling. Yeah. And so, yeah, I managed to do quite well there.
So what did you run in Chicago and how did you finish there?
Well, I won the 60 meters final, won the 200 final, and at the time was the world leading time. And we did the 200 meter 4x2, 4x200 relay, and we broke the American record in the relay as well. So 3 medals, yeah, not too shabby, I guess.
Okay, so coming off of Chicago, indoor is wrapping up. What's on the horizon for you? Do you have any big meets planned here over the summer?
Yeah, there's a lot of big meets this summer. The problem is you really have to pick and choose your meets, and I think they've got the Pan Pacific Games in Cleveland, which clash with the National Outdoor Championships. So of course I'm going to go to Sacramento and do the Outdoor Championships. There's a couple of meets leading up to that. There's the Maya State Games here in Michigan, which is usually a pretty good one. So that, and then of course the big one is the World Championships in Sweden, which I'm prepping for.
Oh, I'm sure you will be. So speaking of prepping for, why don't you take us through your general fitness routine, and then if there's any major differences between on-season, off-season, indoor, outdoor, just kind of walk us through it all and tell us how you do prepare to be so successful.
In terms of general fitness, I don't really have a plan for that. It's quite strange because being a sprinter, fitness isn't really a factor, especially when you're the longest distance is the 200 meters. And yes, there's a little bit of aerobic component in there, but it's not really an aerobic event. It's more of an anaerobic event. 400-meter guys, I'm sure, put in a bit of mileage. And I used to do that too. I used to run 3Ks every single day. But I stopped doing that because people were telling me, hey, you're a sprinter, you need to be running fast. This is going to slow you down. Didn't do too bad a job in Brazil in the 200-meter final. So, I got the last laugh there. But I have altered my training schedule slightly. So I've taken the mileage out per se, and now I do more repeats. So I will, on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, do 2 or 3 sessions a week, 200 to 300-meter repeats. So I'll just do 3 or 4 of those repeats, and then with a short recovery. So that's basically the fitness or the aerobic component. And then, of course, I do my speed training, which is accelerations, block starts, flying 30s, flying 60s, those sorts of things, and then some speed endurance as the season goes on. In terms of winter versus summer, I don't really vary my training. I just shifted indoors because of the Michigan winter. You can't train outside; it's impossible. So, yeah, the training is basically the same. It's just I use the indoor track.
So what about cross training? Do you use the weight room? Do you get in there or do any other cross training activities?
I do the weight room, so I do squats, all the leg curls, calf raises, just general strength training exercises for legs primarily, but I also do upper body work as well. I don't totally ignore my upper body. I used to, and then I used to feel like I was just a bit like sort of Popeye. I had the decent legs and the skinny upper body, but I'm trying to balance it out now so it doesn't look quite so bad. But yeah, just general strength stuff, and plyometrics, that sort of thing, as the season progresses and gets closer to competition time.
So how about walking us through your diet and nutrition strategy? How do you treat that? And then also, how do you manage your rest and recovery?
Yeah, that's a good question. In terms of rest and recovery, I'm very, very diligent about getting enough sleep. So I do train at night when I'm training on the indoor track. So I come home from work because I work sort of late nights generally. I'll do my training and then, just make sure I get the lactic acid out of my system before I go to bed, because there's nothing worse than lying in bed and your legs are still twitching and running. But I definitely get, a good 8 to 8.5 hours of sleep every night where I can. And in terms of nutrition, I don't have any specific nutrition plans. I just make sure I get a lot of protein. I found that is the key for me. So I can just eat, normal meals, the occasional cheat meal, the occasional junk food, McDonald's or whatever. If you're on the road, we all do it. Nobody's perfect. I mean, even Usain Bolt used to eat his chicken McNuggets, and I think that was maybe one of his secrets. But yeah, I find so as long as I get enough protein, I can pretty much eat what I want.
So what is your go-to for protein? I mean, are you a meat eater or fish eater? How do you go about getting the protein levels that you want to get?
Just chicken, beef, occasionally lamb. I mean, good New Zealand lamb is but it's hard to get here. It really is. But grass-fed beef is one thing I think is becoming very popular now. Of course, that's all I used to eat in New Zealand. Well, not all I used to eat, but it was always grass-fed beef.
Okay, so we'll switch gears just a little bit here and kind of talk philosophy. What motivates you at 60 years old to keep pushing hard and keep maintaining this fitness lifestyle?
My parents were both smokers, and my mum actually died of emphysema. And I've never smoked, and I just decided that I'm just going to stay as healthy and as fit as I can for as long as I can. And when I got the sprinting bug, so to speak, I just decided this is great, because a lot of sports you have to retire at a certain age, whereas in masters track you can there's always another 5-year age group. You can always jump up to the next one. And even at 95, you can still be competing and breaking world records or, going to the world champs. So I just see this never ending, well, obviously there is an end at some point, but almost never ending track career potentially. And I just want to just keep riding this roller coaster as long as I can and stay as healthy as I can.
So if you had a ability to go back and change anything in regards to your health and fitness life, what would you have done differently?
I would definitely have started this a lot younger, for sure. I mean, I just feel the benefits. People look at me and they always say, "Oh, you look so, fit and healthy." And I think, in my 30s, I wasn't quite as fit and healthy. So I really would like to have gone back and, maybe in my mid to late 20s have started this, or maybe even not have stopped when I left high school, because that's what we all do. We stop, leave high school, and then we don't play sports, and we don't, we just eat the wrong foods and, live a sedentary lifestyle. But yeah, I think I would go back and start this journey a lot sooner, for sure.
Since you spent almost your entire life in New Zealand, what is your favorite thing, could be anything, about New Zealand? And what's maybe something that isn't your favorite thing about New Zealand?
Okay, favorite thing would probably be the beaches. The whole country is surrounded by water. It's a very small country, 2 islands, in fact. There's always water. No matter where you go, you're only a few miles from water, either left or right or north and south, So the beaches, definitely, beautiful beaches.
Right.
Something I don't like, it's very expensive to live there.
Are there major cities in New Zealand?
Yeah, the biggest city is Auckland City. That's where I used to live. It's a population of about 1.5 million.
So same question for the US. What's your favorite thing about the US now that you're here? And what's something that, well, maybe you wouldn't mind tweaking a little bit?
Okay, my favorite thing in the US would be the people. Everyone says that New Zealanders are friendly, but I would go one step further and say that, especially in the Midwest, which is where I live,
Yeah.
the people here are just super friendly.
Yeah.
I really love the people here. So that's my favorite thing about the US. In terms of anything that I would tweak, well, the healthcare system,
All right. So a couple of simple things. What's your favorite color?
blue.
All right. And I'm going to ask this one and I'm going to have a follow-up question. What's your favorite music genre?
Oh, okay. So it would probably be pop, rock, jazz, R&B.
Okay.
That just encompasses the whole thing.
That covers a lot there.
It does.
It's not exactly narrowing it down.
No, I guess
One
I guess
second, Mike.
popular music, top 40 popular stuff, but with a little bit of jazz and a rock twist to it. How's that?
So I ask you that about the music because it's my understanding that you do some drumming. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
play
you
the
got to
drums.
tell us, first of all, what kind of music do you play with your band? And then just fill us in on the whole drumming thing.
I don't know when I started, tapping on pots and pans and the typical cliched start as a drummer probably drove my parents nuts. And then at the age of 14, I pestered my parents and they bought me a little cheap drum kit. I outgrew that, and by the age of 16, I bought my own drum kit with my own money from working, part-time jobs, etc. And got into my first band at the age of 18, and it just took off from there. And then I've been playing semi-professionally since I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
I played with a lot of top New Zealand musicians. Most of them you probably haven't heard of, but,
Yeah.
but they're well known in the New Zealand scene. And I haven't played in any band since I've been in the US, so I'd love to get into a band, just a covers band. But I've played all sorts of different styles of music. Been on a couple of albums, about 3 or 4 music videos. So yeah, I've done a little bit.
All right. So I got a gig for you this weekend. It could pick any style of music you want. What's the gig you're taking?
If I could get the gig, it would be with Steely Dan.
Oh,
So yeah, so
that's
that just shows you the sort of level of musicianship I'm looking for. But I wouldn't get the gig, obviously. Not that good.
Nice.
But if I could, I would. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, John, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time out to let us know what makes you an autumn athlete that's not done yet. I'd like to finish off today by giving you the opportunity to address our audience with any comments that you'd like to leave with them.
What I would like to say is that there's a common expression in the fitness industry is one more rep. And one thing I've learned over the last few years, my new mantra is now one less rep. So if I think I can do one more rep, there's one more rep in the tank. No, I leave it in the tank. I come back another day. You can always come back another day, but if you injure yourself, you'll be coming back in a couple of months. So one less rep.
Well, there you have it, folks. John Campbell, definitely an autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, folks, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.